Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing Darim, Daf Samach Aleph, number 61. A great share for you today. We're going to continue our discussion about if you said a neder yom, one day, is that considered 2 day, hayom, or is it considered yom echad, 1 day, 24-hour period? We'll get to a new Mishnah on Samach Aleph and Beis about more dinim that are probably not relevant to your life, but figure out one day why we have such a sect like Masech Nedarim. Most people don't take Nedarim. Mishnah, the Gemara, on the bottom of Samech Hamad Beis, third to last line, the last word. Amar Rav Ashi, Tashma, we're trying to bring a proof to our question from yesterday. When you say, I'm taking a neder yom, that I'm not going to drink wine, is that 2 day until Teksha, until Seis Kavim, or for 1 day, a 24-hour period? Tashma konim yayim shani toin hashana. He said, I'm not going to drink wine for this year. Nizabra hashana. If the year becomes a leap year, nowadays it's always set up to be a leap year. You know when the leap year is going to be. It used to be that Beis Din used to convene and decide whether they should add an extra adar or not. So if it added an extra adar, asr ba b'ibura, he's asr in the whole year, basically a 13-month period, right? Also the added adar, the other rishon, which really the added month, the other sheni is really in place of the first adar. Asr ba b'ibura, he's asr for 13 months, right? Heichi dami, what's the case? Ilaim top of samach aleph menal katani. Is Hashana, right? Hashana is literal. This year. So, Lamali Lamemra, why do you have to teach me that? Obviously, Hashana is like we said in the Mishnah. Hayom would actually be usher until the end of the year, not 12-month period, like I said before. Usually, when it comes to years, we go until Tishrei, measure by Tishrei. So, if you took a neder right now, Teves, and this year was a leap year, which it's not, but if it was a leap year, so you'd be usher until Tishrei, including other Rishon, other Sheni. What's the Chiddush? Obviously, it's included. El Lav must be the Amar Shana. When it said Hashana, that was a misnomer. Really, it meant to say Shana. Alma Shana Kashana Dame, right? So therefore you see, right, that it's Shana, because the Chiddush, obviously a leap year, with including extra month, that's included in the year. Why wouldn't it be included? It must be the Chiddush is to tell me that it says the word Hashana, but really he said Shana, and just that's what the Chiddush is, to tell me that Shana is like Hashana. Shana is like Hashana, and not like Shana Echad, where you'd be Asr from now until the next Teves. And it must be V'yom Nami Kayom Dene. And if that's right, by Shana, that's the way we treat it. It's the same way we should treat it when it comes to saying a day. The rest is low. Liolam damar hashana. Really, it is literal. It said hashana. Ma'ad the same. What's a chiddush? Ma'ad the same. Halach acharov hashanim. You should go after most years. Most years, it's not a leap year. Technically, the way it is set up nowadays is that every 19 years, 7 years are leap years in the Hebrew calendar. So most years, 12 out of 19 are not leap years. Lo isbahu ibor, and therefore the ibor, the month of the extra month added should not be included as neder. So I'd be usher until Rosh Hashanah, but not other Sheni, maybe. Not other Sheni. Kamash Malan, Chiddush is, no, it's included. Ibailahu. Gemara really hasn't answered the question, but it digresses to ask another question. Ibailahu, Amar Yayin Shani Toim Yovel. So I'm not going to taste wine for a Yovel. Mai. Shnas Chamishim Kilifnei Chamishim. Right? Yovel is the 50th year. You have 7-year cycle, which is 49 years. And then you have Yovel. We don't know when Yovel is nowadays, but if you knew when Yovel was, the 50th year. So, is the 50th year included in the Yovel? Or do we say that the 50th year is not included in Yovel? Are you also in the 50th year? Like Gemara tries to answer Tanya Pluksa. It's actually Machlokes, Rita Rabbanan. What's the Machlokes? V'kidashtim es Shas Chamishim. Shana. Torah says you're Makadesh the 50th year. Shnas Chamishim ata amona v'yat amona shnas Chamishim v'achas. V'yat amona shnas Chamishim v'achas. Right? You count it as exclusively the 50th year, and you don't count it as the 50th year and also the first year of the next cycle. We'll see That's the Rabbanon's opinion. Mikan Amru Yovel Eino Ola L'Minyan Shavua. According to the Chum, the 50th year is literally that. It's his own year. You have 7 years, 7 cycles of 7 years, 49 years. Then Yovel is the 50th year. And then after that 50th year, then you start a new cycle of Shemitas. It doesn't count as also the 50th year and also the first year of the next cycle, in which case really only a cycle of Yovel is only really 49 years, which is the opinion of the Chum. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, sorry, opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yovel Ola Minyan Shavua. He says, no, it's both the 50th year and the first year. Really, it's basically a cycle of 49 years. The 49th year, the 50th year, is really the first year of the next cycle of Shemitah. Amr lo Rabbi Yehuda, the one to Rabbi Yehuda, Harihu Omer Sheish Shanim Tizra Sadchav Ein Kan Ela Chamish. Right? According to your calculation, right, the first cycle of 7 years after Yovel, right, Yovel is the first year of Shana Shemitah. You can't work the land during Yovel also. So then, really, that first year, you're not allowed to work the year. Then you have years 2 through 6, and then you have Shemitah. So you only have 5 years. It says in the Pasuk you have 6 years to work your land. And that, at one of the 7-year cycles, you're only going to have 5 years. Amar Lahem, he said back to him, right? During the Shemitah year, the 6th year, the Torah guarantees the 6 years produce will produce enough, not just for the 6th year, but also for the 7th year and for the 8th year, because you can't plant during the 8th year. So it'll be enough for 3 years. Hare kan arba. However, even according to you, who say the Yovel year is independent from the cycles of Shemitahs, right? The 50th year is Yovel. You can't plant. So during that 49th and 50th year, right, you have the year preceding the 49th, the 48th, then 49th, 50th, and 51st. You have 4 years that you need the 48th year to make up for. So what do you do with that pasuk? Shalosh Shana. That's talking about the other 6 cycles, not the 7th cycle. Dili Nami, Rabbi Yehuda says, my also, according to my calculation, also, when it says that 6 years you'll work the field, that's talking about the other 6 cycles. But the one cycle that includes Yovel would only be for 5 years. That's the machlokas. So the Gemara lays out the machlokas. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, right, if you said Yovel, right, Yovel is really the first year of the new cycle, so Yovel wouldn't be included. It's the 50th year, but it's also the first year of the new cycle, so it wouldn't be included because that's really part of the next cycle. According to the Rabban, it's an independent year, so it would be included in your neder. Out of Pesach Aser, until the Pesach year Aser. L'meimer the Rabbi Meir Savar L'mayal Iniv Shnav Shel Sveka. Right, if you say Ad Lifnei Pesach, right, if you say Ad Pesach, it's Ad Sheyagia, until Pesach comes. Ad Sheyahei, until Pesach is, so it means until Pesach is over. So Machlokas Ramei and Rabbi Yossi, if you say Ad Lifnei, what does that mean? Does that mean including Pesach or not including Pesach? Remember, the Rameir Savar Lamayal and Nishnav Shalasveg. Rameir says Ad Lifnei only until Pesach. A person doesn't include in his Darim what's a suffix, right? It's a suffix. That's really what the Gemara is saying. When a person's Ad Lifnei, we're not sure what he really means. So Rameir says when a person says something which he's not sure what it really means, so he doesn't bring himself into the suffix to answer himself during Pesach. L'sfeika. Top of Samach Halam Beis. Rabbi Yossi Savar, Ma'al Nishna Avshel L'sfeika. Rabbi Yossi says the opposite. It would be aser because a person has in mind to include the suffix. We're going to examine exactly the machlokas between Rameir and Rabbi Yossi. If it's really a suffix, people are not sure what they really mean. Shouldn't we apply the din of suffix d'oraisa l'chom? What is this machlokas Rameir and Rabbi Yossi? We'll talk more about that in Yom Ben Sion. Raminhu, we have an opposite statement of their shitas. Someone has 2 sets of daughters. Mishnei Nashim. He has 2 wives. Can't be. He has 2 wives. Chas v'shalom. But he has 2 wives. And he has 4 daughters. The older 2 are from the first wife. Girls number 3 and 4 from the second wife. V'amar, and he said, Kidashi has biti hagdoila. He says, I gave one of my daughters over to the Gdolah of any day, and Gdolah Shabbadolas. We don't know. The guy, he went away. He said, I'm a Kaddish. And we can't ask him who it was. Right? And when a person says he's Makadish, so he has an amonus over there to really aser one of his daughters, because once you're Makadish your daughter, she aser to everybody except the man who's Makadish, and we don't know the man she's Makadish. So therefore she's aser. Who's aser? Hidashi is BT Agdol. He said that my older daughter, I was Makadish. There's 3 possibilities. Is it really the oldest girl out of all 4 girls? She Gdola Im Gdola Shivaktanas. Maybe it means girl number 3, right? Because she's the oldest from the second wife. Im Tana Shivaktanas, or maybe it's girl number 2, Shehi Gedola Min Agdola Shreitano. He meant to say my older daughter because even though she's not the oldest from the first wife, but she's older than the two daughters from the second wife. Kulan Asuras, all three of these girls are Asur. Divrei Meir, Chutz Min Aktana Shreitano is obviously the youngest daughter, the daughter number 4. She's the youngest of everybody. So she's not included in the Safek Kedushin. Rayosi Omer Kulan Mutaros, all of them are Mutar Chutz Min Agdola Shebegdolos. Right? Obviously, when you say the Gdola, we assume, right, number 1, the oldest girl, literally, out of both wives, the first daughter you had, she's Aser, because she's really the Gdola. But the other ones, which are Safek, right, Lama Ayal Indishan Avsha Safek, a person, he wouldn't say an ambiguous language that would possibly forbid his other daughters. He didn't mean to include her. He obviously was precise in his language. He only meant to say they're really the oldest daughter. So we have different, right? Yosi in this case says, he wouldn't make an ambiguous language, include in this ambiguous language other daughters. And Meir says he would. You have to switch around the Shitas in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, Meir ad lifnei. Meir says, he's matir, he says, Loma ayel inish. Right? He really says the opposite in our Mishnah. He says that really until Pesach is over. He also says until Pesach starts. Tanya, we have proof to this from Rabbi Zaklal. This is the Mishnah we're going to see in a second. Right, in a couple of lines. Anything which is man kavua, like Pesach, which always falls out at the same time every year. And he says ad lifnei. Meir omer ad sheyetze. Meir, here we see says ma'ayel inish nafshes sveika. You're usher until the end of Pesach. Rabbi Yossi omer ad sheyagia. Rabbi Yossi again is makel over here and says only until Pesach comes. So you see they have flipped their shitas in the next Mishnah, and that really is the correct version based on the Gemara in Kedushin. The Mishnah says, "Out of katzir, out of batzir, out of masik, eno asher al sheyagia." I'm forbidding myself from anything, from wine, from cookies, from taffies. And once heard that Nastasi Finkel, if you look behind me, this base medrash is actually Makudish to Nastasi Finkel. He actually visited Telstone sometimes in his older years. He used to vacation during Ben Azmanim in Telstone. When I first got married, I lived in an apartment that I think both housed Rav Nasi Finkel and Rav Yashuv. Rav Yashuv also used to vacation here in Telstone. I didn't know it was a vacation hotspot, but so after he died, they made this base medrash, this small annex over here in his name. It's dedicated, called Heichal Nasan Tzvi. He was famous. I heard a story about him. He took a neder. He said he's not going to eat taffies, Laffy taffies, or any type of taffy from whenever he took the neder until the end of his life. I believe he probably kept the neder. He said, why should you eat taffies? Well, what's good about taffies? Some people like taffies, some people don't. But he took a neder like that. So that's, I don't know, an example of a neder that actually happened that someone took. And Mishnah says, he said it was too much taiva. I don't know, there's no reason to eat taffies. I don't particularly like Laffy taffies, and I especially don't like their jokes. They're the worst jokes ever. Come on. Mishnah says, out of katzir, out of batzir, out of masik. He says, I'm not going to eat Laffy taffies until the katzir. The katzir is the wheat harvest. Out of batzir is the grape harvest. Out of masik is the olive harvest. You're only usher until it starts. Once it starts, you're mutter. Anything which has a set time every year, like Pesach, we just saw. Amar Shiagia, he says until it comes. Asr ad Shiagia, Amar ad Shiagia, hey, Asr ad Shiagia. If he says until it is, then it means until it's over. Because she'ain's mano kavua. Like a harvest. A harvest happens different times every year. Sometimes there's an earlier harvest. Sometimes the grain grows, or the grapes or the olives grow faster. Sometimes they grow slower. Whether he says until it is or until it comes, it doesn't matter. It's only us until it starts. Out of kayetz, he says, I'm taking a neder not to eat Laffy taffies out of kayetz until kayetz is harvesting the figs. Or he says, again, this is something which is not zmano kavua, and therefore it's when it starts. When it is considered starting the harvest? When people go to the field and start to put figs in their basket. Achiyover akayit. It already says the language achiyover until it passes. So that's a definitive language over there. Achiyakfilu hamikzoot. Basically, and that's till people fold up their knives. People used to use their knives to cut figs and to make them into circles so they can fit in a barrel and store them easier. When people finish cutting and they have folded their knife, we'll talk more about this tomorrow, mixaot, switchblades, I don't know, they fold their knife inside the handle, that is considered to be the end of the harvest. The Gemara says, Tana, kol kol sha'amru, kol kol sha'teinim, lo kol kol sha'anavim. Right? When it says arakayitz, right, until the end of the summer, really, we translate kayitz as summer, it only means the basket until they put in their basket. When does the nether end? When they start to put in their baskets. Only te'enim. V'lo kol kol sha'anavim, not a basket of grapes. Because we're going to see, arakayis generally means what you take with your hands. You only harvest figs with your hands. Grapes, you need a kli to cut the vine, to cut the grapes from the vine. Tanya, hanoder meperos hakayis. This person says in Eder, I'm not going to eat fruits of the summer. Ain't aser elam te'enim. He's only aser in figs. Shimon lomer anavim mechal te'enim. Shimon says also grapes is aser. My time. Akayis literally means to cut down with your hand, right? My time. Kayas means to cut down with your hand, to pluck it with your hand. Figs you can rip off the tree with your hand. Grapes, it's harder. You need a knife to take them off the vine. Anavim looks something other. Shim Leo Savar, Shim argue Savar, Anavim Nami Kimirdadan mixed some biyada. Most grapes, you're right, you need a utensil, you need a knife to cut them off the vine. However, a dried out cluster of grapes that you can rip off with your hand. So therefore, since sometimes you use your hands also to harvest grapes, they're included in the lashon of kayetz, of cutting down. It's an interesting lashon that we call kayetz a summer. We don't know why we call it kayetz, but the real reason is because that's a time of harvesting where you cut down from the tree all the things that grew during the winter, like the grapes and the figs. That's the end of today's daf. We'll talk more about knives tomorrow, mixot. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, where we talk about this machlokas, right? Meir and Rabbi Yossi, about Safek Deraisa L'Chomra over here. It seems to be both Rabbi Yossi and Meir are ignoring the din of Safek Deraisa L'Chomra. I'll tell you why. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.